Hello everyone, Bonnie here. Today is Wednesday, July the 17th, 2024, and I'm coming to you live from my home studio in Carsville, Virginia. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and a retired teacher who has been able to combine my love of teaching with my love for beautiful stamps, ink, and paper. Some of you know that I participate in a monthly organized swap. So each month we have some criteria that we use to create a card, and we make 21 of the same card, and then we mail those out to a lady in Minnesota who sorts them and sends back 20 cards from demonstrators from all over the United States. So it's a wonderful way to get to see stamp sets, embossing folders that perhaps we don't own, and we get lots of inspiration from those cards as well. So tonight I just wanted to pop on to show you step by step how I created my card for this month's swap. So I'm actually going to be cutting my paper with you tonight. I don't anticipate this taking more than 30 minutes, but I want to thank you from the very beginning for joining me, and please just leave me a comment and let me know that you are watching. I truly appreciate your support, and make sure you like and follow my YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The stamp set that I'm going to use tonight is Something Fancy, and I'm only going to use this Happy Birthday sentiment. In addition to that, I'm going to be using the Round We Go stamping stamp set, and the only image that I'm going to be using from here is this, looks like fireworks to me, image right there. In addition to those two stamp sets, I'm going to be using the Round We Go dies, and I want to show you before I actually get started how awesome this die is right here. So you can utilize this die if you want to make a 3D rosette. So I have already taken my cardstock. I think I probably used Berry Burst, and I cut 2 of these strips out and I glued them together. And if you look carefully, you're going to notice a scalloped edge and a zigzag edge. So when you glue the 2 pieces together, you simply want to make sure that you put scallop edge to scallop edge and zigzag to zigzag. So I wanted to show you live tonight how to actually make the basis for a rosette. Hey Annie, thanks for joining me, and Deb, thanks for joining, and I appreciate your support. So I'm just going to glue these 2 in place, and I'm going to butt them up against each other like so, and I'm just going to give it a good little push, and then I'm going to move this aside, and then they say what you're supposed to do is you're just going to kind of push it in. It does work. And where I joined them, I'm just going to make sure that, and there you've got your little 3D rosette. Now you would add a little circular piece here in the middle to make sure that that stayed round like that. And I don't think I can pick it up. Let's see. So that you can see it closer. But it really is, it's very 3D. So that's just a fun die that they've included with that set. So tonight we are going to be using several of these dies. We're going to use that one, this one, and there's a smaller circle that I used for my card, and for the life of me, I cannot locate that. I had it earlier today when I was cleaning things up. So this one's a little bit too large, but it just so happens that I already have one of the smaller ones cut out, so I'll just use that tonight. But I will be using these others for you to see. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to cut my card base, and for the longest time I would cut it in half at 5 1/2, and then I would score each of those pieces at 4 1/4. Well, I have learned that if you go ahead and score it at 4 1/4, and I'm using the thick basic white, and then cut it at 5 1/2, you only have to score one time. Is that not genius? And here I have my 2 card bases. And I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to burnish that so that it lays nice and flat. So I'm going to set my card base aside. And I'm also going to need a square that is 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. So 2 7/8. I'll put this aside, by 2 7/8. And it's really important when you're using your paper trimmer that you make sure that the straight edge is pushed all the way up to that little ledge right there. And when you're cutting on 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, this line goes all the way down. So I keep my eyes peeled on that entire line. So I also need a lemon lime square that is 3 1/2 inches by 3 1/2 inches. So let's see, 3 1/2 is going to be right here. I'm going to make sure that it's nice and flush. And I don't want to cut this entire thing at 3 1/2 inches. So what I'm going to do is I am simply going to look at this marking over here, and I'm going to bring my cutting tool down to the 3 1/2 inch mark. And we have a little notch here on the side, so it makes it easy to do. And then I can place it down here at the 3 1/2 inch mark, down at the very bottom. Let me move that up so you can see that. So 3 1/2 inches right here, and it's flush with that ledge. And there you have your 3 1/2 inch square. I'm also going to need a piece of lemon lime twist that is 2 3/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm just going to come over here. Let's see, 2 3/4 by 5 1/2. So again, I'm just going to come right here to the 5 1/2 inch mark. And let's see, 5 1/2 inches there. And there I have all of my lemon lime twist that I'm going to need. So let me just repeat that. I used a lemon lime twist rectangle that measures 2 3/4 by 5 1/2. Again, those measurements are 2 3/4 by 5 1/2. The other lemon lime twist square is 3 1/2 inches by 3 1/2 inches. I have a basic white square that measures 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. Thanks for joining in, Sandy and Anita. I hope that you've all had a great day. In addition to that, I'm also going to need some Balmy Blue. And my Balmy Blue is going to be a 3-inch square that I need. And again, I don't want to cut the entire thing at 3 inches, so I'm simply going to come down to my 3-inch mark here. I can't tell you how long it took me to figure that out. I just felt like I was wasting a lot of Designer Series paper back in the day, so I've gotten a little bit wiser. So there's my 3-inch mark. And now I'll just come down here and I'll place it on my 3-inch mark. And there's that. I also need a piece of Balmy Blue that measures 5 by 3/4. So let's see. Hopefully I have 3/4. 5 here. And I'm not worried about wasting any here because it's such a small strip. So let's see. Yep, there's my 5. Now I need to use my cut and emboss machine to cut a few things. And tonight I have just decided to put my big boss up here. I have a piece of shaded spruce. I have a scrap. So I'm thinking you probably have a scrap in your drawers as well. I am going to use a scrap here. I'm just going to cut this off of my lemon lime twist. Let's see, I think I can do this. Hopefully this will be large enough. And I love it when you can put all of your pieces onto your die cut machine at one time. And then I will also take a scrap of Balmy Blue and I will use this die right here. And I can just fit them all on here. Now, if you are having trouble with your plate warping a little bit, it's a good idea when you cut things out to not always put them in the center of your cut and emboss machine. Try to put them in various places, and they say that that will help alleviate some of that warping. Okay. Let me just pop these out. This one, this aside. I will say that these little pieces are somewhat fragile, and you will notice that hole there in the center of that die. You can pop that out that way, and I did that a little bit when I was preparing my swap cards, but I felt like it really weakened those little spokes, so I suggest that you go and poke your Pick 2 tool in each one of the little holes. So if I put this where it needs to go, then maybe I won't lose it. And the same with this piece right here. It's got the hole in the middle, but I'm also going to go back and poke out those holes as well. Okay. All right. And I've already gone ahead and pre-cut a piece of Designer Series paper that is 2 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I believe that that just about has all of the die cutting and paper cutting that we need. So this particular piece right here, I trimmed the ends to flag it. And sometimes my flags don't look, my banner ends don't look to be exactly the same. So one thing that you can do, if that seems to be an issue for you, is you can mark on your strip. So what I did was I just marked 1/4 of an inch in on each end of the strip. And I'm going to take my paper snips and my goal is to snip up in the middle all the way to that line. And now I'm going to come and I'm going to try to get right there on that corner edge. And then I'll do the same over here. Okay. Go back and snip that one a little bit. Okay. And then I'll do the same thing here. I'll snip up in the center all the way to that line. And then I'll come in at that point. And the same thing here, I'll come in at this point. And they still may not be perfectly straight. And typically I wouldn't do this, but I just wanted to show you, if you like for things to be exactly perfect, which mine is not, as you can see. There I have a little blemish, but I think that's going to be perfectly okay. That's just one of the things that you can do. So the first thing I want us to do is, I'm going to take my card base and I'm going to go ahead and glue my, actually I'm going to go ahead and glue my Designer Series paper onto my lemon lime twist layer. And you don't really have to use a lot of this glue because it is an awesome glue. So I think so I use my grid paper for stamping off. I use my grid paper to make sure that I have a good inked image, but I also use my grid paper to help me line things up. So I have used the grid lines here to make sure that my piece of Designer Series, my cardstock is straight. And then I can look and I can tell that this Designer Series paper needs to come down one, and then the same over here. It should line up over here. So I've got one down here and one up here. And I'm just going to zhuzh that a little bit. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and secure this again with a multi-purpose liquid glue. If you have a seal, you might want to use that. And I'm just going to eyeball this. I think I'm pretty good at doing that. Pretty good. Whoops. See how that slid? That's the beauty of the liquid glue, is you have a little bit of time to move it where you need it to be. So now I'm just going to set that aside. And the next thing I want to do is I am going to stamp my happy birthday right here on this little white square. And I'm just going to use my Memento Tuxedo Black ink for this. I'm going to scoot that down a little bit. Make sure I have a good image, good ink. Yep. And again, I just eyeballed it. Perfect. Let me put my lid back on that so I don't make a mess here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue my shaded spruce zigzag circle down. I actually used this Full of Life Designer Series paper in my in-person class last week, and the girls loved the designs and the designs and the bright colors of that. So what I want to do next is I'm going to add a little bit of glue right here to the center of that. And I like to use my putty end of my Pick 2 tool to help with this. So I'm just going to put it in place like so. And you still have a little bit of time to tweak it. There you go. So it's going to end up looking like that. And I'm going to go ahead and add my little shaded spruce circle that I had left over from my bits and pieces this week from my swap. Okay. Now I'm going to glue my Balmy Blue square onto my Lemon Lime twist square. And again, I'm just going to eyeball it. You could use your grid paper to help you make sure that you had it just so. I hope that everybody watching tonight has been able to stay cool. It has been a bear. So what I like to do is I like to look at the top, the left, and the bottom. And that's a gauge for if I'm straight, if it's even. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this down here. Let me see. I'm not sure what that is on there. Let's see if I can get that out. Just using an adhesive eraser here. And I'm just going to put some here in the center because I don't want it to extend beyond the outside edge of this square. Let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. For me, the hard part was making sure that they extended the same amount of distance. So here I have 3 squares, and then if you look over here, I have 3 squares. So I know there's the same amount of distance on this side as I have on this side. And that really is what I want. Okay, so now I'm actually going to go ahead and put this on. And I used, for this, I used a large dimensional right in the center. And then I also added dimensionals on this part. So I'll do one on each corner. And one in the center. Don't want it to collapse on me. Now, if you're like me and you sometimes have trouble getting those paper backings off the dimensionals, you can use the stick and flick method. And the thing that I like about that is that you can pick up multiple pieces of paper at one time. So let me just put this right here. And then again, I'm going to look at the left, the top, and the bottom to gauge for my distance on all of my sides. Okay. Awesome. So now this is going to get glued down on top of my card front. And again, I'm just going to eyeball it. And I'm going to press down on all the sides very carefully. And I also used, on this project, some of the adhesive backed shiny sequins. And I went with the green ones. I think they're probably lemon lime twist. So I will use one large. I'm just going to stick that up there. And I always like to press it down, make sure it doesn't come off. And then I'm going to put one down here, a small there, and then another small up here. And then on the inside, I'm going to use my Balmy Blue ink and what I think of as a little fireworks stamp. And I'm going to stamp the inside down at the very bottom. That just adds an element of surprise when the recipient actually gets the card. So now if you weren't going to mail this, you could make it a little 3D too by raising those up, which really makes it stand out a little bit. So let me show you, and again, I did not come up with this design. I was simply inspired by another demonstrator who created a card that was similar to this. And that demonstrator used a different designer series paper, and in the middle of hers, or down here, she had a small butterfly with a small sentiment, and her banner was situated down towards the bottom. So I made this one day, and then the next morning I walked up into my studio and I looked at it again, and something did not feel right. So at that point I decided to tweak it a little bit, and I ended up with this, and I was very happy with it. And you know, you could, initially I had this, which I thought was really pretty. I even tried a Balmy Blue circle in the middle, and that was really pretty as well. But I got a little bit of input from my oldest grandson who was here, and he really liked the shaded spruce center, so I ended up going with that one. But this is just a very simple, easy card to make, and you could do it with any designer series paper. I think it would be stunning. And again, remember, we never send a naked envelope, so I suggest taking one of the designer series paper pieces from the Full of Life and putting it on your envelope flat, or stamping the fireworks on your envelope somewhere. So I hope that you've enjoyed watching me show you what my card swap was for the month of July, and I look forward to doing this again next month. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to